All right, all right. So today I've got a special guest. This is Josh Bryant. He is the new VP of Data here at ICO Alert. This is a special treat because this is an authentic corporate to crypto story I'm hoping to hear today. Josh actually joined ICO Alert recently and has completely revolutionized the way that we're managing our data and looking forward to strategically partnering with larger data companies and other research firms through his guidance. And I've been excited to get him on the show because he's got a real corporate background and he's now in crypto. This is Corporate to Crypto. I'm your host, Ryan Dennis. Let's get into it. Okay, Josh, how you doing, man? Welcome to Corporate to Crypto.
Hey, Ryan. Thanks. Good to be here.
You know, it's a real treat to have somebody who actually has had a long tenured career in the corporate world, and then they decide to jump into cryptocurrency. My background is very much so with large companies and Fortune 500 clients and sort of the stuffy environments. I was wearing a tie and a suit and wearing a headset a year ago, and now I'm over here just cracking skulls when it comes to ICOs.
We're wearing our AirPods on our iPhones.
Yes, that's right. AirPods. From headsets to AirPods. That's going to be Corporate to Crypto's new title. But Josh, welcome to the show, man. How's it going?
It's going great. I'm happy to be here. Happy to be here on the show and happy to be here at ICO Alert after, as you said, many, many years in a corporate environment. It's very new, very different, but I really enjoy it, and it's totally creative environment, just a great team here to be working with.
Nice. Okay, so first things first, I would say it's hard to go from corporate to crypto. It's hard to switch your mode of thinking, and we can kind of get into why we kind of alter our personalities for the corporate world and the way things move and the politics. But first, I would love to hear about your story. I mean, where did your career begin in data or not, and how did you kind of move up the ranks and why?
Yeah. Well, when I went to college, I started out in a business program. I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do at the time, but my grandfather and my father had both been in business, and so that's what I went into when I was in school. And while I was in my undergrad program at Carnegie Mellon University, the Mosaic web browser first came out, and it hit the computer clusters on our university, and I went started using the web browser, and I realized I really enjoy this, and I started to teach myself how to code in HTML, and before you know it, I had a few freelance jobs doing that, and I thought, I really like technology a lot, and I like this opportunity to work with something new where you can put content out there to so many people over the internet. So I shifted into more of a technology degree, information systems, and I ended up double majoring in that, and that was the beginning of my career in technology.
You can't do that now because you'd have to have coded for 5 or 6 years to get into a computer science program now, right?
Yeah, this was kind of early on. I was in the business program, but they had the ability to double major, and the information systems program at CMU had some CS courses in it. So, I learned how to code. I remember the C++ courses I was in, and the database courses, and I really enjoyed the database side of things, and learning how to build the back end of a system, and then learning how that interfaced with a web front end. And so I kind of learned how to do everything from building the front end in HTML to building a database in the back end and hooking it all together. And that was the beginning of my technology career. I took my first job at the university. I was there for 4 years with a research team, and it was really big data kind of in its early stages. It was a research group on criminology, and we had these massive tapes of data from the FBI and from the Census Bureau, and we had to get the data off these huge reels onto computer systems. And so my team and I did that, and then it was our job to get it into a big Oracle database and then build a front end. We used a tool called Oracle Discoverer, and all of the researchers who were researching criminology would come in and access this data, and they would connect FBI data to census data and draw their conclusions and create reports. And it was really cool. I was there for about 4 years straight out of college at the Heinz College.
So you've been accessing and investigating criminal offenses in data for still today you are, right?
Yeah.
Ever since you went to school, because now you're investigating potential scams
and ICOs. Yeah, that's right. It goes way back. Yeah, the big data piece of it goes way back. And I went from Carnegie Mellon to my first job at Mellon Bank, and became BNY Mellon. I was there for over a decade, and really plugged into the corporate world at that point. And after that, I was at Highmark for a little over 3 years before I came here. So in total, about 20 years, in the first few in academia at Carnegie Mellon, everything after that at BNY Mellon, and then at Highmark, both of which, very corporate settings, very large, successful organizations here in Pittsburgh. But inside of me, there was always this real interest in entrepreneurship and in being in that small, creative environment. I did some things on my own for a few years. I had some innovative concepts around communications and technology, and in fact wireless headsets. And so I created a company to work on some of those ideas, and I got some patents around some of those ideas. So I kind of did that on the side, but while I was at the bank is when Bitcoin came out.
Wow.
Yeah, so that was
scary for you guys?
Yeah, it's funny. Like it came out, and it was just like a novelty for a while, like something that was kind of, people talked about it, people were interested in it. It was like a conversation piece, but people didn't really take it seriously. And I remember the bank brought in some crypto companies to talk about their product. And there's just a lot of doubt as to how, would it really catch on? Would people really want to use it? When I was in these corporations, especially when I was at the bank, I was in the strategy team of the corporation. And so it was my job to research a lot of new technologies. And so, Bitcoin and crypto was one of the technologies, mobile and mobile payments. I collaborated with Carnegie Mellon many times in having student teams build out new like products or MVPs, prototypes for the corporate entities that I was employed by. But it's really tough in a big corporate environment to generate innovative new products. Mm-hmm. Many of the big companies that are out there right now, the corporate giants, they are the incumbents, and so they're not really motivated to innovate and find products that are going to disrupt the model that they're in charge of, mm-hmm. that they're making money off of. So even though many of these companies have strategy groups and strategy teams, I think it's very, very, very difficult to innovate from within many large corporates. Not all of them. I think that there are some that are still very effective and very successful in bringing new products to market and being innovative. But especially in some of the highly regulated industries, it's really tough to generate innovative new products from within those companies. So for me, I felt that in order to be in that really innovative and creative environment where I could try and build some of those new products, I had to step away from that and come into a smaller entrepreneurial startup like this one.
That's awesome.
And so here I am.
That's awesome. I'm actually, my brain is going crazy thinking about all the experiences you must have had kind of studying and hunting down new research and development and seeing cryptocurrency coming and being like, whoa, what is this? Mm-hmm. And seeing it's a water cooler conversation into an actual industry. And when I was doing executive search and recruiting for large corporations, your resume would have been one everybody would salivate over, right? Somebody who's got this experience, they've got the tenure, they've got a little bit of data, they understand business, right? You have a degree in business, right? A double degree, and as well as information systems. You just got a little bit of everything. But somebody who's got that much experience also knows what their company and those large companies cannot do, which you're speaking to, which is, it's kind of like boxing. If you're big and strong, you have to take a really methodical approach, because when you throw a punch, it's not going to be that fast if your muscles are too big. If you have 100,000 employees, or you're making, billions and billions of dollars, you can't be as agile as those smaller firms who are moving ahead of the dial and thinking quickly and kind of changing the way that people are doing business because they're attracting something so quickly, right? They're kind of magnetic. And so when you saw cryptocurrency coming, you probably thought, maybe not, but you were comfortable. You didn't have to go anywhere. You didn't have to jump up and jump at the opportunity. So when did you start to say, maybe? Was it your side projects, or was it, your work when you said, maybe I should look into kind of what's out there in the cryptocurrency blockchain world?
Yeah, that's a great question. I remember seeing Bitcoin, when it first hit the scene, and I did a little bit of research on it when I was at the bank. But then I kind of moved on to some other things. Then I got into the health insurance industry. But really, it was the big run up in 2017 that caught my attention again, and that's when it really started to catch on. And more and more people are starting to take notice of it. And I realized, man, I should have gotten a little more Bitcoin back in the day when all that happened. But I started to do a little more research into crypto when that happened. And, I learned that it wasn't just Bitcoin, that there were all these other cryptos out there, and that, you could create your own. And so I proposed that within the company I was in at the time, that we build our own crypto. And I was doing some research around that. So I kind of got back into it again and studying it more and getting interested. And that's kind of what brought me back around. I thought, boy, I wonder what's going on in Pittsburgh in this space.
Yeah, and crypto is big in Pittsburgh now. What happened when you proposed the idea of a blockchain in your company? Were you completely shut down?
I wouldn't say that. I think there are a lot of innovative and creative and great talent in the corporations that I've been a part of. The issue is getting everybody aligned and in agreement to move forward with something and to invest in something new. Invest money, invest time, invest resources, invest energy in something that is, as of yet, unproven. So I took my idea to a lot of different areas of the organization, my own team, my management structure, the strategy group, a lot of different areas. And the idea was received well. They liked the idea. They thought that it could have legs and that, something worth pursuing. But ultimately, you've got to get so many different people on board, and there's just so much leadership. It's like you have to convince so many people and get everybody kind of, and it's got to go all the way up through the many layers of management.
The red tape championships.
It's just really tough. Yeah, it's really tough to get a new idea off the ground, even if it's a good idea in a big environment like that. And, a lot of people, including the leadership of the company, have a lot of other things on their mind, just the daily tasks of things to be done. So, my experience with that crypto idea was similar to my experience with a lot of innovative concepts that I've worked with in big companies. It's just very hard to get them off the ground and to get them moving forward. It takes real willpower and purpose from leadership to have the, to do what it takes to get a new idea moving forward.
Such an important lesson to learn. You heard it here first. Somebody who is involved with the strategy point of their team at a large firm is telling you that there's a lot of red tape and politics when it comes to getting an idea moved in a direction that you think the company should go in. There's so much buy-in. And then in those environments, there's also a lot of politics.
There is.
And that kind of influences who's going to look good if this goes this way, or if this goes bad, who do I blame before I make a decision? So when we're looking at the next venture of blockchain or phase 2, as Mike Finch likes to call it, for the crypto world, when these crypto companies become large companies and these other corporate environments start to absorb cryptocurrency and blockchains, there might be some advice there, right? As to when you build a larger company or as you grow, turn your company into a community or a network so that they can work on their own. Because when I went to San Francisco to speak with Consensus for Social Impact, Robbie Greenfield, who's actually the CTO there, he's a data lead, just like you, for his own team. I'm like, oh, you're at Consensus. That's a huge company, man. What is it like to be with the people who built Ethereum? And he's like, man, it's not like that. Consensus is like 12 to 15 different companies. And we're all spread out. I'm still meeting leadership at different people and different teams in different countries. And it really kind of shows me that we're building a network where each individual in the kind of crypto atmosphere is like a node on the blockchain. They're kind of responsible for what they're doing. And so ICO Alert is kind of built like that too. It's a very flat organization, if you'd agree, right?
I do.
And we're all very entrepreneurial here. And if you want to lead a new process, you have to take on an entire team's work, right? So how has that transition been for you, where you're going from like a gear in the cog to the cog?
Right,
you know?
right. It's great. I love it. In a big organization, when you want to affect change, you have to bring in different departments in order to mean that happen. And that means, you got to talk with sales, you have to talk with marketing, you talk with these different teams. And that means scheduling the meetings. It means getting all the right people in the room. There's a lot that goes into getting everybody aligned, right? When you're in a big organization, those people could be in one place. They could be all over the world. Well, here in our company, we're all pretty much in the same room, right? So if I want to talk with sales and marketing, we can all get together and quickly come to decisions and move forward with those decisions. Now, that being said, even in a small company like ourselves, good leadership is critical. Like, you need to be able to consider the options, make a decision, and move forward in agreement, cooperating with each other and working well with each other. Like, I think that has to be there no matter what the size of the company. But, I see that working here. And one of the things when I came into this company, I said is a small team can impact huge change. It can impact huge change in an industry, in any environment. A small team of dedicated people who believe in something and are working together can bring about a huge change. And there are a lot of talented, creative people here. And when we're working together towards the same goal, like, every day I come in here and I hear new ideas that are kind of floating up, floating up. And those ideas are received and bounced around. We talk about it, and decisions are made, and we move forward. And some of those decisions are accepted, and we integrate them, and some of them we put on hold. But I think everybody feels like their voice is being heard, and that although not all ideas will move forward, all ideas will be considered, and some will move forward. Right? It's not as though everything's going to just get stuck in limbo forever and nothing's going to change. We're in an environment where we have to be able to move. We have to be able to change in order to grow as a company. We have to be able to look for opportunities and capitalize on those opportunities. There's no chance to kind of sit on our laurels in this environment, right? We have to be able to innovate and pivot and grow and seek opportunities and take advantage of those opportunities. And it just moves so quickly here. It's incredible. I think corporate to crypto like in 1 week is the equivalent of many months in a corporate environment, just in terms of how fast things move, how fast the industry moves, how fast things change. So, it's really exciting to be in that kind of environment.
Agreed. I couldn't have said any of that better myself. And you bring up a good point of, with things moving faster, what does the competition look like to you? You just, without giving our competitive listeners I know you guys are listening out there, you fraudulent listing sites. I'm just kidding. We're really in an environment in the crypto atmosphere of, and I call it an atmosphere because it's kind of like air. It's not really like, a plain ground. There's a lot of companies that do a lot of things.
Yep. And
they're small like us. We're as much a data company as we are like a media company now, and a research company, all kind of overseeing all of that. Mm-hmm. So we see in our industry where there's a lot of room for collaboration rather than competition. So can you kind of speak to what your vision is, lightly, I don't want to give you all the ICO Alert secrets out. I know you're the data champion here. But when you see some of the other sites out here who are kind of proposing to offer ICO services or just blockchain services, what do you think, when you look at where the industry is going and your experience, your vast experience in the corporate world, how is competition versus collaboration kind of moving? How is it trending to you?
Well, a couple things. I think as an industry, we need to educate about what ICOs are and how what they're good for, where they're what their strong points are, what their benefits are. Because it's all moving so quickly, and because there have been scams in this space, I think there's still a lot of distrust out there. A lot of people don't understand, even when an ICO issues tokens, what are they? What is a utility token? What is a different what is a security token? They don't know the differences between those things, or they may not understand how can a utility token have value. How can these companies be issuing these tokens that are used to pay for their services? And even when I first came in here, I didn't fully, understand all of that. But as I've gotten more and more involved here, and I see what these companies are doing, you start to understand that in these decentralized networks, these decentralized products, that there may not be a single place anymore where everything's run out of and you buy stock in that company, right? Because the product is run across all these nodes all over the world. So what may end up having value is this token of exchange that you're using to pay for the service, right? And that's kind of what the ICO idea is built on. Everybody's used to an IPO and you get stock in a company and you own a piece of that company, but what if there is no company per se? What if it's a distributed network? Then, where's the value in that distributed network? Well, it may be in this utility token that's being distributed by the ICOs. Or, I can very easily see what used to be stock certificates on paper all being tokenized digital assets. I really think that's the future, and I think that we're moving in that direction too. So you could have not just ICO's initial coin offerings, but STO security token offerings where equity in new companies is distributed in this tokenized form. And so when you start to see the future that way, you can see there's a lot of opportunity for growth, but also in educating the entire community around us as to what this really is. It is not just a scam, even though there are scams out there right now. It's kind of like the Wild West, but it's the tokenization of these assets. And so moving forward, you're not going to get a piece of paper with your stock anymore or whatever. It's going to be tokenized in a sense. And I think there's going to be tremendous opportunity there for investors who might have been cut out in the past to invest in new products. So one of the huge advantages of ICOs is not just the reduced cost, but it lets anybody who wants to invest in a new project do so, right? You don't have to be an accredited sometimes in certain places, in certain jurisdictions, you might have to be accredited, but there are opportunities to get in at a lower level with these companies, and I see more of those opportunities coming in the future. Mm-hmm. So I think education is one big piece of it, is teaching people what an ICO is and working together to do that. And the second piece of it is trust, right? We have to, as an industry, build trust in what we're doing here and what ICOs are doing. So one thing we do as a company is provide some basic level of vetting for the ICOs that come to us to be listed. We don't provide ratings on ICOs, but we do some basic level of vetting of the ICOs that come in that we list. And I think moving forward, there'll be opportunities for companies, like ourselves to build trust in industry, trust in the ICOs that we are listing, trust in our commentary, the media that we're putting out there. And as that builds, and then, as regulation comes in, I can really see this entire ecosystem growing. So educating the community on what it is that this whole new ICO industry is all about, building trust in that industry, and then moving forward, realizing that, likely we'll see more regulation come into this space, which will probably open up doors for institutional money and, other growth opportunities as we see like custody and regulation and those kind of things being sorted out in this space.
I can't tell you how much I love your answer there, because the education piece is why I think that the real answer to the question I think you're kind of speaking on is connecting people is important through education and communication, because we all are doing so many different things and there's so many companies doing different things. So when I talk about, networking opportunities or strategic partnerships with different firms, I have to spend half of the phone call telling them what we do, because we do so many niche and nuanced things for different people. And there's a real need in all these places. So I think we are at that point where we have to fill in the gaps and connect the dots between all of these different firms. So it's hard to say that any one company in cryptocurrency or blockchain has another kind of straight line competitor. You know what I mean? Because there's really no parallels you can draw anywhere. It's not like a spider web even. It's almost like a kaleidoscope. It's just so many things going on all over the place in different colors and different dimensions. So everybody has a different niche that they can fill and provide value. And that education piece is really what's going to help us build a better industry where we can use that clean slate of trust, like you're speaking to, by doing things the right way and professionally. And we're kind of building a new business industry. And so it's important that we're conscientious about how we communicate those things. Because if we establish that trust, then we are going to own and be able to shape this new world. And if we don't establish that new trust, then that old financial system that we have not trusted for a few years, maybe since the recession, right, or the housing crisis, and in different countries, there's many other events. I think I'm thinking of Venezuela and Greece, where trust is really something that doesn't exist in their systems at all. So we're kind of rebuilding a whole new world. So that was an awesome macro response. I'm going to have to listen back to that twice because I think you really are kind of telling the table where we need to go. So let's talk about micro, right? So you personally, how were you transitioning from corporate to crypto? How has it been educating yourself, meeting new people, kind of fitting into even ICO Alert, as well as like what have you been doing in order to kind of get ingratiated into this really weird crypto culture?
Yeah. Well, boy, it's been a big change. I walk in the door every day here, and we're all pretty much in one room together, which I like. It's easy to have sort of conversations back and forth with everybody here in the company. So I like that. The environment's more casual than where I've been at for many years. I was up every morning putting on a tie.
Yeah.
My last job, and that was just kind of part of the deal. But here, I'm in a polo shirt every day, and I'm probably the dressiest person in the office. So I like, I like the casual environment here. I really like you talked earlier about the flat management structure. You don't have to go too far to get a decision on things. And I think that as we grow, I really want to see that continue. That I think companies that are successful keep that sort of flat structure. So I like that piece of it. Yeah, I told somebody when I first came in here, I'm like, oh man, these are my people. I really like this environment. It's creative and entrepreneurial, and I mean, like the talent that's here. Oh, I mean, seriously, the more I get to know this team, and I hear and I can see what their skills are, and even what their hobbies and what their interests are. It's really cool to work in an environment with this much talent and creativity and other people who really, believe in what we're doing here and want to see it move forward, for the benefit of, certainly for our company, but also for, everybody out there, to sort of make an environment for them where things could be less costly, or they could invest a little more easily, or have a little more security than they might have at the moment. So I really like being involved in this type of environment. And then just getting involved in the crypto space, I feel like I've been here maybe around a little less than 2 months now, and I've learned a ton just in the time that I've been here, but I feel like I have so much more that I have to learn about the details and the specifics of crypto and ICOs. Before we came in here, I was reading through this big white paper that's out there just on ICOs and in general, and I mean, it's a great piece. There's a lot of technical detail in there, and I'm learning from that. But I mean, there are conversations that go on here in the office every day, and I'm still kind of lost on what's being said, not just the inside jokes, but even talk about the cryptocurrency and the things that go on in these different exchanges, and the ups and downs and some of the phrases that people use. I'm still kind of coming to grips with all these things and learning. So probably a year from now, I'll have learned a lot more, and I'll get all the jokes that are going around. But at first it's seriously, it's like learning a new language coming in here.
It is. Yeah, I would liken it to don't worry about the inside jokes because most of them are really corny anyway, and don't make a lot of sense. But when it comes to the world of crypto, I would liken it to when I started taking some classes to be a wine sommelier. I wanted to be a beverage director, and I was in the services industry, and I was really passionate about wine, but I was really probably just bored of working, and I liked going home and drinking a bottle of wine after work. But when I was getting into the wine sommelier classes, I was like, what? I mean, I remember a course where a gentleman was talking about why Chilean wine is spicy. It's because the worms in the soil are the same worms that have traveled under the ground that are eating chilies, and then they are also living in the soil where the berries are and the grapes are. So literally the skin and the pores and the feces of these worms is what makes those grapes spicy. And that's why Chilean wine has a kick to it. And I was like, whoa. Too much detail.
Right. Not something you knew when you ordered the wine at the restaurant.
No, not at all. It's just, I guess it tastes good. And I think that's kind of like where we're at with crypto. It's like there's so much detail out there. Like in wine, you have to understand climate. Crypto, you have to understand exchanges and how buyers and sellers interact and why and what liquidity does to price. And that whole world of finance there and trading is completely mutually exclusive from the technology and what the blockchain is. And then there's the culture of it, of why are we doing this? The why is hard to separate from crypto, right? I mean, we're not trying to start a revolution and destroy anything every day. Sometimes we're just trying to improve people's lives, on a small scale. And I feel like here at ICO Alert, when I think about the individuals who are here and how they got into crypto, it reminds me of, I think the person who said it the best was Dr. Harper, who I've had on a previous episode of Corporate to Crypto. He talked about the network effects of how do you get into a network where you even hear about cryptocurrency. You have to be interested in technology. You have to be interested in finance. You have to be interested in all of those things wrapped together, how they relate to one another. And then you actually have to believe that cryptocurrency could work enough to actually research it and talk to people about it. And now we're at a point where, like you said, when Bitcoin had that heyday and it became famous and everybody's still talking about that $20,000 Bitcoin day, when it reached that pinnacle, who bought in and who didn't? And I think ICO Alert is one of those companies that has been just bringing in talent from there. But like you said, every person here is like, sometimes we call ourselves the Avengers, because the Avengers, I mean, if you like superheroes, there's all kinds of people who have a lot of talent, but everybody brings things to the table. And sometimes it's not even just, I think that I'm probably one of the least technical people at ICO Alert, but that has nothing to do with the amount of impact you can bring to the industry. And when I talk to somebody like Dimitri, who has worked on Wall Street doing Forex trading and working with billion-dollar budgets, and he even had a day where on one of our last episodes, where there was he's in a heavily regulated environment. Crypto's still dealing with regulation. And there was one day when his company lost $250 million. So when you talk about the volatility of cryptocurrency, it exists everywhere else. And then we actually had a recession. We had a housing market crash in the real world. So cryptocurrency is not taking away from, what we are as human beings. Is like, we're not perfect. Our systems aren't perfect. But this is a chance for us to use technology and the latest and greatest to improve it. And the people I think who are doing this and working in this industry now will have jobs for the next 20, 30 years because they already showed their guts. That they've got the stuff to go after it and be real entrepreneurs. So I want to give you some snaps.
Thanks, man.
Thank you for joining ICO Alert. We need your expertise. Is there anything else you want to share with us, before we hop off here today? Because we're running out of time. I know you're a busy guy, but I'm really happy to have you on. But anything, any reactions you've had to the industry or anything you want to share with people out there who might want to get into the crypto world?
Yeah, I mean, if anyone's listening to this and is interested, just start doing a little reading about what's out there. I mean, there's a lot out there, and it's moving quickly, and there's a lot of different aspects to it. Like you were saying, there's a technology aspect to it. So if they have a technology background, there's a lot there. There's a finance aspect, or if they're just a hobbyist or someone who's interested in it. There's a lot to learn, and it's kind of like kind of like a little bit like the Wild West, Like I wonder what it would have been like in mid 1800s, out west, lots of room, lots of opportunity out there. I kind of see that here in this industry. So I definitely encourage anybody who's interested in crypto or ICOs to, do a little more research and get into it. Maybe talk about it in the companies that you're in, see what kind of opportunities there might be. Where they're at right now. And yeah, other than that, it's been a great first couple of months here. So excited to be here and be working with this team.
Well, speaking to the time of crypto, a crypto minute's faster than a New York minute. I felt like you've been here for like 6 years to a year, man. 6 months to a year, because you have already added so much impact. So thank you for being here. Thank you for being on the show. And speaking to the Wild West, like he said, if you want to get into this industry, you got to read. Just sit down, get some ice cream, or a nice little lemonade. Sit down and just read about it. And if you don't like reading, subscribe to the ICO Alert Podcast. We've got all the information you can need. Thank you so much for listening. This has been Ryan Dennis with Corporate to Crypto, and Josh Bryant, the VP of Data at ICO Alert. Thank you so much. And until next time, subscribe to ICO Alert, the only trusted comprehensive list of ICOs and pre-ICOs. Have the best day ever. Thank you. ICO Alert maintains the only trusted comprehensive list of pre-ICOs and initial coin offerings. This Pittsburgh-based startup has grown to serve over 1 million users in less than a year. But how did it get started? Well, at first, the company was just an online tool for two brothers, Mike and Rob Finch, to keep a calendar of their favorite ICOs. After just a few months, the team has grown to over 14 team members and produced hundreds of ICO reports. These in-depth reports feature exclusive interviews and offer insight into past, active, and future ICOs. Head on over to ICOalert.com, meet the team, and use their game-changing My Portfolio function. Track your favorite blockchain projects. Become your own venture capitalist. Only at ICOalert.com.